there's actually two trades I want to go over. As you can see, this is the Euro USD one, which I took it on Monday, which I obviously lost. And then there is another one that I would also like to go over, which I took today, which is Wednesday. That was on Nasdaq, and I won that trade. But before I get into the Nasdaq trade, I just want to go over this. Euro USD trade. So obviously, as you guys can see, it took buys on Euro USD, and I'll get into my explanation of why I took those buys, right? So first of all, to the left, we can see we had a support zone, a 1 hour support zone over here, right? You can see we had the 1 hour support zone, then price broke cleanly through this 1 hour support zone. What then happens, the 1 hour support zone then becomes now becomes a 1 hour resistance zone, right? So we broke the support zone, clean break, price continued to push lower. It then obviously becomes a now 1 hour resistance zone, right? You can see price pushed up, attempted to retest and attempted to break back above the now 1 hour resistance zone. Price was unable to do so, and then we had another leg lower, right? We had another push to the downside. Then once again we had another push up and another attempt to break the now 1 hour resistance zone, and in this attempt we actually did end up breaking this 1 hour resistance zone, right? So we broke the 1 hour resistance zone, so that was good, right? And this all happened before I actually even before I actually even looked at the charts, right? So that was a good thing. So let me just mark out this candle here. 9 o'clock, we can see we have London session open. Then 3 o'clock, we can see we have New York session open. And obviously New York Stock Exchange opens at 3:30. But the reason why I'm making mention of these session opens is because we can see with this 1 hour candle over here, this was the candle that broke this 1 hour resistance zone, right? So this was a candle that broke it, and pre-New York session, when I was doing my analysis, I was actually hoping that either during New York session or just before New York session, or during the New York session open, we would actually come down and just move this. We would actually come down and sweep out this 1 hour, or this one, or let me rather say this London session low, right? So we can see we have the low of London session on the same candle that broke the 1 hour resistance zone. So I was hoping that price would break above, then come down, right? Which it did, in essence it did. But I was also hoping that if and when price would come down, so that we can have the break and then the retest, we then push deep enough to sweep out this London session low, right? And clearly, as you guys can see, the 1 hour low / London session low did not get swept, but price did indeed actually, after it broke above the 1 hour resistance zone, it did actually push, as you can see with this 1, 2 bearish candles, it did push and retest our 1 hour, now once again 1 hour support zone, right? So just to recap, I was waiting for London sessions low to get swept. The low never got swept, but price did get the break and then the retest of the now once again 1 hour support zone, right? So let me go ahead and remove the session opens. So as I said, my initial thought process was for this London session low to get swept, the liquidity there. Unfortunately, as I said, that never happened, so I can go ahead and remove this little line there as well. So even though the line and session low didn't get swept, we did, like I said, get the break and then the retest of our now once again support zone. So over here it was support, it broke through, price broke through, it then became resistance, and then when we pushed up to retest it, the zone was unable to hold, price broke above the resistance zone, it then became once again 1 hour support, right? So the line and session low didn't get swept, but we did get the break and retest of the 1 hour support zone, right? And then we got the 1 hour bullish candle reaction to the upside, which is good. So initially I would have taken an entry right there. I would have taken an entry right off of the closure of this 1 hour reaction candle, and it would have been something like this, something similar like that to that, and my stop loss would have been something like that, right? So the reason why, because this is initially what I would have done off of the reaction candle, I would have taken an entry, but the reason why I didn't is because just to go back to what I said earlier, just because look how close line and session low was to this. So price could have easily done something like this. Price could have easily have gotten the reaction candle, right? Then came down once again to sweep out this liquidity, the line and session low over there, and then could have continued to push out up, which could have stopped me out, right? So that's the reason why I didn't take an entry off of this bullish reaction candle right there. So afterwards, when I saw clearly price wasn't intending to sweep out line and session lows, I then went and identified this little 15-minute resistance zone up here. I then went ahead and marked out this 15-minute resistance zone, right? And we can see price failed to break above it once, twice, thrice, somewhere around 3 or 4 times, right? So this was a pretty key, even though it's on a 15-minute, it was a key short-term 15-minute resistance zone, right? So once price broke above it with this candle over here, clean break above this 15-minute resistance zone, once price broke above it, I then waited for a retest, which you can see we did eventually get with this just move this over here. We did eventually get it with this candle over here. So we can see the candle opened, immediately pushed down into our 15-minute. It was a 15-minute resistance, now becomes a 15-minute support, right? So price opened, then had a massive dump to the downside, then in essence attempting to break back below our now 15-minute support zone, right? The zone was valid, it held. Buyers then proceeded to push price back to the upside, and we can see how this candle closed, right? So like I said, it opened, this 15-minute candle opened, pushed right down into our 15-minute support zone, which is a good retest, and then price pushed all the way back up again. So I was like, okay, that's a pretty good retest on my part, and that was enough for me. So then on the, actually this should be like this. Well, let me just leave it like this. So on the open of this candle right here is when I took my buy entry. TP1 was up here, and then my main and final TP was in this little 4-hour, I think this is a 4-hour resistance zone. This is a key zone up here, and as you guys can see, unfortunately price didn't, just pushed up a little and then completely dumped to the downside and stopped me out in about 1, 2, 3, 4 candles. I got stopped out. So yeah, that was the Euro USD trade. But kind of buttered, that took an L there, but these things happen. And then now going on to the trade I took today, which is Wednesday. So this is a trade I took today, which is on the Nasdaq. So there's a bunch of lines on my chart at the moment, but I will explain everything in due course. You just wait for this thing to load. So clearly I took sales, as you guys can see. I took sales on Nasdaq today. And yeah, let's just get straight into my reasoning, my thought process, etc. So first of all, let me draw your attention to, I can actually remove this, yeah, and I think I'll just go ahead and remove this black line as well for the time being. Yeah, so that's better. So first of all, you can go ahead and identify this pretty key 1 hour resistance zone, right? So we have this 1 hour resistance zone. It's pretty key because we can see that price rejected at the zone, firstly attempted to break this resistance zone and then rejected from it multiple times, right? You can see it rejected over here, then rejected over here, and then a bunch of times over here. So clearly price was unable in the past to break above it, and price always rejected from it and then pushed lower, right? So coming into today which is Wednesday, coming into it, we can see after on Tuesday we had this sell off once price rejected from our identified resistance zone. After price rejected from it, we can see we had another leg up to once again retest it, right? You can see over there we had another retest. I can actually bring this a little lower. So we had another retest of our 1 hour resistance zone, and we can see once again price was unable to break above it, and we had another closure below it, telling us that price is rejecting from it once again, right? So once I saw that, and once I saw that it was lining up with this 1 hour trend line, I immediately started looking for sales. So we had the first touch over there, we had our second touch, first touch over there, we had our second touch over there, then we had our third touch over here. So we had 1, 2, 3 touches on my 1 hour trend line, right? So like I said, the third touch of this 1 hour trend line perfectly coincided when price attempted to retest this 1 hour resistance zone, rejected from it, and that was when we managed to get our third touch on the 1 hour trend line, right? Let me go ahead and remove this. Right, so with that being said, and now that that is cleared out of the way, let me just mark out New York session right there. Let me just go ahead and remove these green lines as well. These things will be getting confusing. So once again, I identified London session open over here, then we had New York session open over there. New York Stock Exchange opens 3:30, and we can clearly see I have identified with this little line over here, identified London session highs with a high of London session, which was here clearly. So also coming into the day, can clearly, and since I'm looking for sales, I was then waiting for New York session to open and sweep out this London session high over here, right? You can see this line over here, 9 o'clock London session opens, we made London session the high of the session. So London session high was over here, then marked out New York session 3 o'clock. New York session opens, we can see we push up, we did get the sweep like I wanted of this London session high, then price continued to tank lower, right? So once again, London session opens, we make the high of London session, wait for New York session to open, and then once New York session opened, I waited for the sweep of this London session high over here. We did get the sweep of the London session high, and then I went onto the 5-minute time frame. Since this was just like a quick scalp, I went onto the 5-minute time frame, and then let me just get rid of this line over here. I went onto the 5-minute time frame, and then I was waiting and looking for a 5-minute break of structure to the downside. So you can see I identified this 5-minute low over here. I had this 5-minute low over here in mind, and then once we got the push up, and then once we had this 5-minute bearish candle over here, this 5-minute bearish candle over here, we then got the confirmation of the 5-minute break of structure to the downside, just barely as well. Okay. This 5-minute candle did close below the wick of this 5-minute candle over here, broke 5-minute structure to the downside, and then I waited a little bit and decided to go ahead and enter over here. I was waiting for a push into this imbalance over here, but I decided once price continued to push lower, I then just decided to get in. So let me just go over the confluences one more time. Coming into the day, like I said, we had the 1-hour resistance zone over here. Price pushed up, rejected from it, and that coincided with the third touch on our 1-hour trend line. We had first touch, second touch, third touch over there. Then also I was looking for London session high. London session high was right over here. Waited for New York session. New York session open. We had the push up, swept out with this candle over here. We pushed up, swept out our London session high. Then going on to the 5-minute, looked for a 5-minute break of structure. Got the 5-minute break of structure over here. Got a 5-minute break of structure over here, like I said. Got a 5-minute break of structure with this 5-minute candle over there. Waited for, or would have initially waited for, a retrace into this 5-minute imbalance over there, but I decided to go ahead and enter. And then my first TP was somewhere around here, and then my final TP was around here. I know we had a 15-minute, it was somewhere around this 15-minute low here. I initially wanted to target the full length of this 15-minute wick over here, you know, just in case price wanted to come down and sweep out this low over here and then continue to push up. But I then rather decided to put my final TP in the middle of the wick. So yeah,